Hello everyone, welcome to detail number 2, the historic walkway lane. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go into my SketchUp 2014 and side note, if you have your personal computer, and I'm going to try to have these things updated in the lab too, but 2015 is available now, SketchUp 2015. Which is a significant difference because it's now 64-bit, so it should process faster, which means your workflow should just be faster. Okay, so just a quick side note. But anyway, I'm going into 2014. I'm going to open up SketchUp. And I'm going to select a template, and again I'm just using architectural design feet and inches, so we're all on the same page. I have some plugins loaded, so I'll have to clean up a little bit. And what I've done is I've gone to plan view. I have a shortcut for that, just for top view. And I'm also going to go into my camera and turn on parallel projection and delete the model. And I'm going to go File, Import. And I'm going to navigate to the historic walkway light. And I'm going to say Import. I'm going to grab a point. I'm just going to drag out. Next step is to scale. I'm going to hit T for tape measure. And I'm going to come into this marker here. It looks like it's 12 feet, I believe, and I'll click here and say that that is 12 feet. It'll ask me, do I want to resize the model? You say yes, and now we have a scaled image to work from. Now I've noticed that on this image it's crooked, so I want to kind of straighten that up to allow me to draw straight lines and just make this work easier. So I'm going to draw just a straight line from that point straight up, and you'll see that I have the green axis constraint, or not really constraint, but you can see the green axis. You want to stay on that. And now what I want to do is select the image, select my rotation tool, and I'm going to use that same reference point, but I'm actually going to first strike the angle that it is, which is right there, and I just want to pull that over till it matches up with this line. So I'll just kind of align the image to be parallel to a nice plumb line. Alright, now the first thing that I want to do is create a layer, and I want to call it footer. Alright, so I'm going to select the footer. I'm going to hit R for rectangle with my shortcut, and I'm just going to draw this footer out. I'm going to put it in transparency so I can also see. That's always helpful to be able to actually see your work. L for line, I'm just going to cast a line kind of straight over first. And then R back for rectangle, and just want to get that inference and come down. Okay. And again, it looks like there's something here. Should probably line up with the aggregate. And let's say it's right there. Okay, so go back in here and delete some of these lines. Now all this is on footer, and obviously all that's not footer, so let me create some more layers. Let me say we have earth, and we also have aggregate. Okay, so I'm going to double click in here. Everything's on footer. I'm actually going to make that a group. That's good. I'm going to double click the same thing with the earth layer, but it's on the wrong layer, so I'm going to put that on earth. And also I'm going to jump to earth real quick. I'm going to make that a group. I'm going to jump to aggregate, and the same, double click here and double click here, so they're highlighted, and those should actually be aggregate, and I'm going to go ahead and group those as well. Alright, so everything is on its own group and on its appropriate layer, and the group has been created in that particular layer. Alright, so that's done now. We're going to continue and jump back to layer 0 just to make sure I don't do anything I don't want to do inadvertently. We'll go ahead and just create this light first, and then after that we'll add the conduit and then the bolt that is securing the light fixture to the footer. Okay, and then we'll put the aggregate and soil and pop it up. So the first thing that we're going to do is create a layer. That's right, you guessed it. I'm going to call this light fixture. I'm going to jump to it, and I just want to trace this thing, and I want to get the midpoint because I'm going to use the follow me tool. So I just need half of a profile. So I'm going to use the midpoint of that footer as my reference point for the midpoint of this lamp. And now I'm just going to begin to trace using my arc tool and my line tool. So let's say maybe it comes out here, there. Maybe it's a nice line to here, something like that. And then maybe like that. Zoom in. Here. Looks like it's going something like that, maybe. Coming in here. Maybe it's an arc. I don't know, it's kind of hard to see. Maybe it's just like that. I don't know. And just draw this the best you can. Point is that you know how to use the follow me tool. And this looks like it's going to come down. Sorry, I'm trying to use my magic mouse. I'm on my Mac doing this. Okay, come here, looks like it pops out a little bit. And then we're just gonna bring it down. It pops out a tad bit more. This comes here. It pokes out some. And maybe that goes. That, maybe that's like that. There. Oh. Almost done. Coming down. There. There, maybe that. That's an ugly line. Let me just change that just to make it look better. Yeah, we'll say it does that. No, we want a bolt. That's true. I'm just going to come out a little bit because we're actually going to put a bolt through this too, so I'm going to give myself some room to work. And then we'll come down here. Mouse over there to there. Alright. Now somewhere there's a break in this because it's not a face. See, the idea is to make a face with this, and this is not a face for. Well, there goes part of the face. I'm just going to connect lines and see if maybe we'll just create faces here. E that. And while I'm up here, though, I'm also going to do, there's going to be just two divisions, two type of materials to create this this light, and it's going to be the glass that the bulb sits in, and then the cast iron or whatever material you imagine for this as the cap. And that's really what we're going to do. We're going to keep it simplistic. I'm not going to try to get too detailed with this. But we do need to make faces. That's weird. Sometimes SketchUp's like that. Maybe I didn't strike a line correctly. Oh, that's right. I should have caught that. Because we made this into a group, its geometries are separate from this. So we had to draw a line there in order to create a face. So it was just spilling out, and that's why it wasn't filling. So if you're having that issue like I just had, that's what it was. All right. Alright, this is light fixture. Okay, everything is as it should be. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my on light fixture. I'm going to turn off my my footer and the earth and aggregate for now. And I'm going to select all this. And I'm going to deselect by hitting shift and clicking the actual image. I'm going to make that a group so it's separate from underneath everything. And while I've done that, I'm also going to click back on this image and I'm going to explode it. And I'm going to double click on it and then make it a group, and I'm going to lock it. And that way I don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay. So I'm going to double click in this lamp group, if you will. And I'm going to make 2 more groups. I'm going to make this one a group in itself, and I'm going to make that a group, actually 3 groups, and then that top piece is going to be a group. Okay. So I'm going to go in here, and I want to kind of tilt this a little bit. And I'm going to make sure that I'm on my light fixture, and I am. Hit C for circle. Tilt a little bit, and there you go. So we can get that axis. And I'm going to make sure that this circle is just bigger than my my profile. And kind of tilt back up again. And I'm going to click that, and then I'm going to go into my tools and go to follow me, and I'm going to click this face, and you see that the profile is swept along that face to create the 3D model of the light. Now you're left with this kind of extraneous line work. I'll just click in here, delete, and then just click that. Done. All right. So now I'm going to keep it moving. We have more of it to model. Let's get our light. So I'm going to double click in it. And same thing, kind of shift it over. And actually I'm going to go back into my windows and model info. I'm just going to hide everything else so when I'm working I can just see what I want to see and not have to be bothered by the other information, for this at least. Bring it out. Excuse me. Bring it out. Bring it out again, larger than your profile. Click on the face, and same thing. Tools. Follow me, and there we go. I'm just gonna click that. Delete. Delete. Okay. We have one more in here. Double click in there, and tilt this. Bring this out, click it, tools, follow me, click it, there, click it, sweet. So we have this thing kind of done. I want to quickly just kind of render some of these pieces so it becomes easier to see. So I'm going to make this base, we'll make it this last color, I guess. So when I select in the group and I drop color, it drops on all the pieces, so I don't have to go in and individually render the faces. The bulb piece, it's actually load a material. What is that? Let's load a material actually though. So I'm gonna go here, navigate to your translucent. And I'm just gonna grab this, what is this? Translucent glass bulb, and I'm gonna painted that. I'm going to go back to my home tab, and I just want to adjust my color a little bit. I don't like that so blue, so I'm going to go edit and go into my colors, and I'm going to move more towards like almost a clear, and close. There you go. And in the tab, I'm going to go back and sample. Got my paintbrush or my paint bucket materials, and I'm sampling. I sample by holding my command on my Mac. I think it's control on the PC. And I'm going to go into this piece and just drop that color in as well. So now we have our lamp made for this. It's still on its back right now, but we'll address that a little later. Also, I'm gonna go into my styles and just adjust this and go to edit and just take off my profiles, extensions, and endpoints. So just my edges are left. I'll go ahead and update that as well. All right. So then I'm gonna go back to plan view and let's handle the let's turn the footer back on. Turn my light fixture off. Turn unlock this. This is on the wrong layer. It should be on layer 0. Okay. So now I'll turn that off, and okay, that's what we want to see. And I'll go ahead and lock that again. Okay. So I see that I have this conduit so that the wire can run into the light to feed it to give it electric power. Because unfortunately it's not photovoltaic. But we'll go ahead and draw these in as well. So I'm going to try to find that center point of that conduit coming down. And I'm going to come out a little bit so it protrudes out of the footer of the concrete. Just delete that. And it is curved, so I'm going to hit A for arc, and I'm just going to draw that in. And it's not a good line. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so I'm gonna take that, and I have a shortcut or a plugin rather called Weld that allows me to combine lines. It's really helpful. You should be able to find that through Extension Warehouse. It's called Weld, and actually, let's see if it's there. So Extension Warehouse, you should see these icons. If you don't, I'm not sure where you find it at in here. Extension Warehouse, though it's through my Windows. But if you click that, this is where you find plugins. You can find some free other kind of independent plugins, but the new thing is SketchUp has incorporated it into its software, so you can just search for it and allows you to install them relatively easily. So Weld is a really good one, the one that allowed me to combine lines. And I think on the lab computers you can actually install these. Yeah, so you would just click on it. And there's tons of plugins. You can browse these things and find tools that might be helpful for your own workflow. I have it installed, so I don't need to uninstall it, but it just welds and lines. You can just hit install and it does it, and it's that easy. So I have that done, and what I want to do is put that on a new layer. I'm going to call that conduit. I'm going to put myself on that layer as well. I'm on that line, and I'm going to make it a group. I'm going to double click in it. I'm going to tilt this thing, and I'm going to hit C for circle. And I'm going to make this thing, the radius, 1/4 because I want it to be in 1/2 inch. And then I'm left with a circle here. Yes. Oh, in the wrong direction though. So let me take that back and draw the circle again. We tilt it down. There we go. Same thing, 1/4 inch. Okay. Good. Maybe now it looks big. You can try that again. I guess it is right. Okay. And I don't want it to be a solid protrusion, right? So I'm going to use my offset tool and just give it a little bit of a lip. Well, I think a little bit more than that. Take that back and just do a little bit more. Okay, 16th, how about that? And then I'm going to come in here and just delete that. And now what I want to do is select my line, and I'm going to go Tools and Follow Me. And I'm just going to have that thing and extrude it along that line. So I've created this pipe. Okay. Now you'll see in the drawing, it looks like these pipes are kind of underneath one another. One's going this way, another one's going the other direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this also a a component. Just right click to make it a component, so that when I make a change to it, it makes a change to its accompanying piece. And I'm going to go back to plan view to do this, and I'm still in parallel projection. And I'm using my move tool. I'm going to hold Alt, I believe it's Control, on the PC, and just copy it over. And then I'm going to do my shortcut for scale, and I'm going to tilt it so I see that third middle axis. And what I want to do is just pull this thing over, and as you pull it over, it'll snap to its mirrored position, and that's the mirror. So I'm going to go back to my plan view. Oh, something happened there. Let me do that again. Shortcut again for that, and I'm going to grab that middle piece and just pull it over. There it goes. Okay, and back to plan view. And I'm just going to move this. I'm going to kind of rotate this thing around. I'm using my magic mouse. It really helps. You can just hit O for orbit and orbit around so you can see this. But if you're doing a lot of 3D modeling, I highly recommend getting a 3D mouse. I'm going to grab that midpoint right there. I guess that's the midpoint. And I'm just going to drag that and put it right below this one on its midpoint. So I kind of create this crisscross action. Go back to plan view and just do a zoom extent. So there goes my conduit. So the conduit's made. Now we need to go ahead and handle this anchoring system, right? It's going to be these bolts that kind of go through, and we're going to extend ours. These are just steel pieces embedded into the footer that protrude through the footer through the base of the light fixture so it could be anchored. So what we're going to do now is just create a layer, and we're going to call that anchors. And I'm going to put myself on that layer. And I'll go ahead and turn off conduit for now, and I'll put these anchors in. Hit L for line tool, and I'm going to try it in the midpoint because we're going to make these circular as well, the exact same way. Just a nice, neat right angle. And actually, I'm going to extend this. So for me, I'm going to come up here a little bit and just above that lip. So maybe right there, and just give it some bolts so we can actually anchor it. And then I'm going to use my weld tool. Weld. Okay, there we go. And I'm on my anchor, so that's good. So now what I want to do is just make that a group again. And we'll make it a component too, but for now we'll just do that. Double click in there. Just want to see it. Okay. The circle tool. This is going to be I think ½ an inch, so we'll just do it at 1/4. Oh, did it the wrong way. Needs to be on the red. There we go. So let's do 1/4. Okay, this is going to be solid this time, so I'm going to select the line and go to my tools and say follow me and just protrude that along that piece. So good. And now what I want to do is just make that a component. And the exact same thing again, I'm going to copy it over. Copy it over. And then I'm going to scale it and then just pull this thing over to transform it. Either way, it doesn't matter. Just pull it over. And there you go. Back to plan view. And I'm just going to move it over and lock myself on the red axis. And just kind of bring it over there. And that should be pretty matched and look good. Great. Conduit on. And you can see that the rebar is going right through the conduit, so at this point we would just need to, well, we'll position those in a second. We'll do that after actually we pop this thing up and extrude it. It'll be easier, but keep that in mind. This is a good point to realize how things work in 3D, how these things are, there's conflict. On other information modeling softwares, that should be detected and let you know that there's a clash. So those are the things that demonstrate the power of information modeling and 3D modeling. But anyway, back to plan view. That's done for now. So now I want to handle my earth layer. I'm going to go back to earth layer, and I'm going to turn my anchors off actually. And I'm going to turn off those the conduit as well. So now I'm going to do the earth. So I'm going to double click here, and I'm going to paint this now too. I'm just going to do everything and just Control A and paint it all that brown. And let's say that this thing's going to come out maybe 5 feet. So I'm going to select my faces, and I actually have another plugin called, I'll demonstrate this, hopefully it's here. It's in the tools. My plugins, multiple push pull, and it just allows me to grab faces and do them at the same time. So kind of have that going that way, and that actually didn't work. So sometimes these things don't work very well. So in this instance, it's only 2, but typically you can get it to work pretty well. But I wanted to go this way and then go back and protrude the other side. So I'm just going to go out 5 feet and 5 feet. Oop. 5 feet. Maybe 5 feet. 5 feet. Okay. So to cut a section out, we're going to make sure everything's just consistent with that. So that's my earth layer. And what I want to do is do my footer the same way. So I can jump there. And I'm on my footer. And I'm going to go ahead and make that footer blue right now so we can just see it. And tilt it a little bit. I'm going to come out 5 feet. And then 5 feet the other way too. And if it becomes too big, we can just always change that out as well. That should be matched. Okay. And the last one is going to be that earth layer, so same thing. I'm going to this earth. Let me actually paint this guy brown. Let me go back to that aggregate and paint the aggregate like a, oops. Okay, there we go. So I just changed the colors on them. So now I'm doing my earth, and I'm going to double click in that, and I'm just going to extrude that 5 feet. Okay. And then come down here, grab the other face, and extrude it 5 feet as well. Okay, so everything should be matched. And you can probably get away with just 2 feet. I don't know why I said 5. But anyway, you have the footer should be there as well, just so we have this nice section of it. And actually, you need to make yours smaller because that's pretty big. So I can just kind of go in and knock those things down. A little bit. So I said 5. Let me knock that down 3 feet. just the earth layer. Let's just do that so it's small on the front at least. Okay, back to plan view. Alright, so now we should have this thing pretty much constructed, and because we extruded it from the middle, the midpoint being the page, all the conduit and all that information should be inside, in this case the aggregate and the earth and the footer. So now all we need to do is then tilt this thing up, right, and put it and have it sitting up in the right direction. So to do that, I am just going to actually turn off, turn off the image and put back on my light fixture, and I'm going to highlight everything and just put myself in, not there, light fixture. I'm just going to make that a group. It's in light fixture. I'll make another one that says combined and put myself in that, and then make that into a group, so I can toggle that up, on and off, so everything disappears together. Turn that back off. So now what I want to do is just rotate this thing, and I'm actually to take off transparency so we can kind of see what we've done. And I want to rotate this thing. So I want to grab this edge, doesn't really matter, and just want to tilt it up. It'll lock, and there goes your profile. So now when I go plan view, it should be a nice plan view of it. If I do a side or front view, it should be there as well. So we've modeled this thing. It looks pretty good. And again, I'll just adjust that. These faces, it's just too much. And I'll just knock that in 3 feet, I believe I said. And 3 feet. 3 feet. Alright, and that looks good. Alright, so now we need to, obviously, I'm going to save this. I'm going to put this on my desktop. And again, you should be working cleanly. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go to my SketchUp model. And I believe this is detail 2. I'll just override that and say replace. Okay. And now you have your saved piece. Now what you want to do is add some texture to this so it actually looks like what we're trying to represent. You can use the same ones you've been using. I'm going to edit this and load a texture, and I'm going to go to concrete. There goes a concrete for me, and that's looking pretty good. Maybe make it a little smaller for me. Alright, close, it looks good. The earth layer, I'm going to edit that. Load. Earth. Let me see if I can find a different earth. I don't like my earth. Anyway, you get the picture. I'm not crazy about that, but we can always change that stuff later on. And that'll be a good way to... Oops. Wrong one. Let me pick the earth that we had. And close that. And actually what I want to do is just edit that a little bit. At least make it a different color, kind of. Just trying to darken it up some. So you can, in this way you can see that you can manipulate your colors and kind of play with it and get it to where you want it to be. It's better for me. Okay, and then I'll go here to the, I don't need to do that. My aggregate is what I'm going to sample it so it pops to that color, and then edit, and I'm going to load, and we'll say that it's aggregate. Okay, so a little bit big. Try 1 foot. That looks good to me. And there you have it. And if you wanted to, you can add grass to that. You can always pop a grass layer on that too. Slow the texture. And I'll do a grass. And I'll just go in to the earth layer just on the top. Just paint that top. And grass color, and actually make that a group and just extrude that maybe 2 inches or something. There we go. So now we have some grass too. Kind of click back out, and there you go. And that is the model. So once you have that done, you're ready to label. Take it, put it into layout, and label this thing. And that's how you do it. Okay, so now I have the I've made some adjustments to some of my textures. But it's the same box that we created. Now you want to make sure too, I'm just going to go into X-Ray, that your other components, your conduits and your anchors are rendered correctly, and they are where they're supposed to be. Then when you flip the group, that they were on, so everything should appear kind of inside of it. So the thing is, well, then how do we see this stuff, right? If it's inside of the base, how do we see it? And the answer is that we'll create a section through this. Now there's going to be a plugin that you're going to want to use to help you with this, just to make the process much smoother. It's called Super Section, and you're just going to jump into your Google extensions and look up Super Section rather, and just install it. So I have it here, and I'll demonstrate how it works. But first thing we're going to do is adjust the style, and I've created one already. This is what we want it to look like. Almost. Let me edit this one more way, and just to get it set, so that I don't forget. Also, I don't want to see the model axis on this. I just want it kind of clean, and I'll update that. But this is where you all are, the architectural design style. And what we want to do is just make a copy of it, and I'll call that construction detail. And what we're going to do is we're just going to have simple white with profile lines, edges, profile line, put a comma in there, edges, no shadow, and shaded with textures. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to edit, and we're going to turn off the model axis like we did before, kind of go through these toggles. I'm going to get rid of extensions and endpoints and just have a profile. I'm going to make that 3. And I'm going to start the background color. I'm just going to make that white. The back color, front color rather, white. We'll keep on going. I'm going to turn off the sky and make the background white as well. And now we have where we need to be. So that's great. And when you make those changes, you just want to hit update. Okay. And I'm just going to do a zoom extents and a front view. Okay, there goes front view. All right, so we have our model halfway there. So we have these nice profile lines, and we still need to cut a section through it so that we can actually see the information. So what we're going to do is you're going to find these toggles. These are shortcuts you can pull up here: the toggle section display, toggle section cuts, and then just the section plane tool. Also, you can go through tools and just go through section plane. And what we're going to do is we're just going to set it on here on this axis, right? And it puts up a picture plane for us that will then project and move. So what I want to do is move this thing in so that I can see the interior information, right? So just really enough to see the interior information. And then what I want to do is click on it, and I want to right click, and this is where super section comes into play. So I'm going to say super section, and I'm just going to call this detail. And what it does is it does a lot of things automatically. It aligns it, it creates a scene for you, and it kind of sets it, makes it nice and neat. I'm just going to kind of do a zoom extents on this though, and then I'm going to update my scene. So let me update that and save that. And the scene, I'm going to click on that and just update that. So all that criteria is saved in this scene. And we do this because it makes the process of setting it up in layout just faster, right? So now that we see that we've cut through it, we can actually see all the information that we want to see through the drawing. All right. Okay, so if you come up to your section and you see that all the faces have incorrect, or the majority of the faces have an incorrect texture applied to it, when you create something in SketchUp, you have faces on the exterior and also the interior. So that just means these faces on the interior were inadvertently painted the wrong texture. So we have to go in and repair that. So you're going to double click in this. Like that's going to be the concrete. I would just select my concrete. Click out. That's actually aggregate. This is the earth. And I'll just drop the earth in. And then that's supposed to be like a lawn. Alright, so there. And then you'll have the texture that you need projected accurately. Now one thing is that it looks good, but it might be a little dark when it prints. And we want it to be graphically strong but also legible. So I'm just going to reduce the opacity of some of these things a little bit. I'm just going to go edit and maybe reduce the opacity to, I don't know, like 80, 85. I'll do it for 85 for all of them. So I'll do that, close, and then I'll go over to the earth, edit, and I'll just make this 85 too. And close that. I go to my aggregate, and you can play with the opacity. The point is that you want your text to be prominent, so that it's clear too. And if it's too dark, be contrasting, be difficult to see. So then 85. So I'm just gonna adjust mine like that. I think I did the concrete already. No, I did that as well, and I'll make this 85. Okay. Alright, that's done, and that kind of looks good to me. I might want to do that black color too. And just edit that, maybe even that comes down some. Let's sample, see which one it is. That's that. Okay. Alright, so that looks good to me. The conduit I want to stand out, so I'll reduce the opacity of those. So I'll kind of zoom out, and I'll save that. I'll just make sure that the scene, I'll do a zoom extents, and make sure that my scene is updated. All right, and I'll save that. So now I'm ready. That's done. I'm ready to go into layout. So I will. There's actually an icon here. I'll just export to send to layout. close this, and I'll select the template, and I believe I told you, if you have the previous one up, then actually, let's close that. Let's go into layout separately. I'm there. Let me open an existing file. You might be able to do that from the first part. Let me actually see that. So what you want to do? Let's try this again. So once you have this, piece done, then you want to let me just close this out. Send to layout, and there's actually an icon here to send to layout. So I'm going to send it to layout. It's going to pop up. I'm going to close this. I'm going to say open an existing file, and I'm going to go into this and hope that I did that. My detail sheet. Open. Okay. Update all. Just updating some of my references. Okay. So we have this here. That looks good. And this is the other sheet that we had before. And then I'm just going to see if it didn't bring it in, and didn't, so it's alright. We'll just go File, Insert, and I'll navigate then to the second one, Detail 2. Open it. Bring this in, and it's important actually for this composition, make sure that you're using the same material. So actually my earth should be the same as this, so there's consistency. I changed up some, but whatever you use, just be consistent. Just use the same stuff over and over again, so we can see the materials and have an idea of how they're working. So I'm just going to kind of shift this over, and I guess the idea behind this was that I would have a large one of this maybe, and again you can range and view, show grid. I'm just snap into the grid items. Okay. So maybe this is kind of like that. Kind of acting as a divider for the other pieces. And I just want to make a copy of that. And it'll be shrunk down some. Maybe more like that. More like that. And I'll just click on here like that and kind of zoom in. And we'll go to the SketchUp model and just get this thing ortho front view. Ortho. I'm just kind of zoom in on it so it's a scene of that, and that way we can call things out and label. What that's close to actually. Let's see if we can't get it to be a. I don't know what that's equivalent was. Alright, so that looks good. And I can move maybe that there, maybe that makes sense. Kind of get it lined up maybe with the other one. That's where you can kind of play with it. Maybe it's kind of right there. Okay. And then maybe there'd be another one that would be a focus of the fixture, the light bulb. So I'm just going to double click in here and my hand tool and just hold shift to come down and kind of come here and maybe zoom in a little bit, kind of click out of it. Alright, so when you're done with that, you can arrange your own composition and add notes to it and kind of clean it up. Again, just be consistent with your materials. so that there's consistency through your, through your entire CD.